like other top strikers. So now we're going to go into different types of movements and different types of principles you need to understand in order for your movement to actually be effective. Just by showing videos, I'm not going to teach you, so I'm going to show you little tips and tricks and get you to actually understand movement as a striker. So as a striker, one of the first things you have to understand is the offside line. And the offside line is basically the line that's in line with the last defender on the pitch. So if everyone's up here and this last defender's over here, then this becomes the offside line. And as a striker or any player, you have to stay in front of the offside line to receive the ball. If you stand here, you're offside. If you stand here, you're onside. And so as a striker, it's really important to understand where the offside line is and how to move around it, because during a game, you're probably going to be the person to receive the ball in a goal scoring opportunity around the offside line. And so the first tip I'm going to give you is to find a quick way to see where the offside line is. And this is a little trick that I've seen strikers use, obviously at the professional level whenever I watch TV, but also just at youth level as well. Something that I try and tell the players I coach is just look where the linesman is. So the linesman is always trying to stay in line with that last defender. So if you don't have time to look at every single defender's position, have a look over at the offside or at the linesman and have an idea. Let's say you are a bit unsure, everyone's like over here, well, that's a bit unrealistic. Let's say everyone's over here and you don't have time to see. If you look and see, oh, the linesman's all the way back there, then you know you're in a good position. But if you suddenly you're standing here and you see, oh, well, the linesman's all the way up there, then you know maybe I shouldn't call for the ball. And that's just a quick thing you can do to see where that offside line is. But let's talk about movements around the offside line now. So the first tip I'm going to give you is to sometimes stand behind the defenders. Because if you're thinking about the way to make the game as easy as possible for the defenders, it is to do this. Stand right in front of them, or maybe stand right here, right in front of them, because they can see you the whole game, and if they're stronger than you or quicker than you, they can deal with you. And we look at the best strikers in the world. Not everyone's fast, not everyone's strong. Their movement is what makes them elite. So if you're standing here, you're making the defenders win because they might be stronger than you, faster than you, and there's two of them against one. So mess them up a little bit. Stand behind them, because something that happens is that I've heard coaches say this and I've heard defenders say this as well. Don't worry about him. He's offside. Let's focus up here first. Maybe the ball's over here, and your team's playing the ball around. Stand here. Or don't worry about him. He's offside. Let's just focus, step up, keep the line tight. And while they're true, you don't really have to worry about you. That works in your favor, because then you can start and taking up different positions. Maybe you rotate out here, causing the striker to, or the left winger to come inside, and then you make a run. The defender's here. You make a run inside in this channel, and obviously timing your run. So maybe the defender passes the ball, and by that time you're in. Even in this clip, watch how the striker starts behind the offside line, but by the time the ball actually gets to him, he's in the right position. And if he started behind the defense onside, he wouldn't be in that position in the first place. So what this basically means is that you can stand and confuse the defenders by just standing around that space, but making sure that you have a time where you come back and then look for that quick run. Because if we imagine that you are making this run while the defender can see you, he can just track you the whole way. He can track you the whole way. He can see everything. But now, for example, let's say that you start behind him, ball keeps getting played, and then you maybe make a run over here, ball keeps getting played. They're defending very, very well. They're pressing really well. Ball keeps switching. You come over here. Maybe the winger comes inside, taking the centre back away, and then now the right back gets the ball. You're like, I'm gonna make this run. Now, the defender hasn't got the same amount of time to look at you, see you, because first of all, he's focused on the ball and focus on what's in front of him. If you're here the whole time, you're always going to be in his focus. If you start a bit behind him, just be a bit more confusing, then you can take up spaces like that and become more of a threat. So the first tip to improve your movement is understand the offside line. Understand, of course, you have to be onside, but realize that you can stand behind. You can maybe move in and around, and this could also mean you come into the midfield and just get away from the defenders. If you're stronger or faster than them, then of course deal with them in this situation. If you look at someone like Lukaku, for example, he's a strong striker. He doesn't need to stand over here and try and confuse them, because if he gets the ball, he knows he can beat them. But other strikers, they're not necessarily stronger or faster, and that might be you. So improve your movement by maybe dropping in, linking up with players, and then making runs in behind. So watch here as number 10 Harry Kane, the striker, drops deep and plays the ball out wide. Now watch Harry Kane, keep watching him and look where the defence is. He's so far from the defence and he's not in the focus of the defence, so that by the time the ball actually gets into the dangerous area, he can then make a run while seeing everything. And obviously it doesn't lead to a goal. The Tottenham actually end up losing the ball, but it just shows you that in that moment you can make a run from deep. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the relationship between these four players. Now this is going to change depending on your formation. You might play a 4-4-2, so it could be two strikers. You might play a 4-3-3, so that's your striker and your two wingers. You might do 4-2-3-1. But whatever the situation formation is, what I'm going to try and say is that you're going to have players that you consistently attack with. So it could be you and another striker, it could be you and attacking midfield player, you and two wingers. You must understand how they work and how they play. Because if you expect to do whatever you want and always get the ball, that is not the case. Every single player on your team has a different style, different passing technique, different everything. And if you want to be a good striker and understand your movement, you have to change the way that you run for them because all you're concerned about is getting the ball and scoring. So if you, sorry for the zoom in there, if you look at someone like this is just imagine the attacking midfield player. Typically, these guys are the best at creating chances. And you could say that I know wherever I am, I'm going to get the ball. So it could be I'm going to start here, I'll get the ball. If I start here, I'll get the ball, whatever. But other players might be different. So your right winger, for example, might love crossing the ball in. So it doesn't mean that you should just always make this run because you might not always get it. That means understanding this type of player and saying, I'm going to have the best chance of scoring if I make a run here so he can cross the ball. The left winger, for example, might love doing a 1-2 and then crossing it in, or might love dribbling. So you're like, you know what? He's going to dribble. He's not going to pass me. He's going to shoot. He's going to dribble and shoot. So my best thing to do is get ready for rebounds. That might be something you do. It could be he does 1-2s all the time. So look at your teammates, look at how they play, and say, what can I do to help them and help me score more? Because if you're arrogant and you're not willing to change, what you'll do is make the same run for every single player, and you start complaining, saying, "Oh, he gives me the ball every time, but he doesn't give me the ball, or he doesn't give me the ball, or this defender doesn't give me the ball." For example, that is something that can happen. And this doesn't just mean these three other players, it could be your midfield players. So, again, if we go back to another example in another video, I showed a clip in the last video about how to improve your decision making where Christian Eriksen crossed the ball into Dele Alli. These two players had a relationship on the pitch because they knew how each other moved. Dele Alli was a number 10, but he would take up these positions because he knew wherever he was, Eriksen would find him. But Dele Alli can't do that with someone like, Moussa Dembele, for example. If you're here, you shouldn't be making a run over here thinking, oh, this guy's going to pass it to me. That can happen, and that does happen sometimes. But have an understanding of what your teammates are like and make runs in relation to them. So even here, watch how Jamie Vardy knows Mars is going to shoot, and that's why he goes in for the rebound. It sometimes means knowing what to do in that situation, and that's what Jamie Vardy does very, very well. So what we're going to go over now is how you can do better in specific situations that come up a lot in football. And I'm going to try and maybe put some examples up of some strikers doing this through video clips on the screen if it becomes relevant. But I'm just going to go through some scenarios and show you like how you can move so you have a bit of an idea. But of course, something I said in my last video as well, it's important for you to really just try stuff that is different, especially at a youth level. Of course, like if you're really good at making like a run this way, for example, just a random run, of course do this, but also just try different things because you never know what's going to work and what's going to give you more goals. Just always be open to trying a lot of new things and learning from that. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a toolbox so that you can take it into a game. So the first thing is doing something that Harry Kane does really well. So if you find yourself maybe you're a little bit smaller than other defenders, maybe you're not as strong or you're not that fast, what you can do instead of battling with the defenders, and of course do the offside runs, but if you're battling with the defenders, drop into this space. Let's make it a bit more realistic here. If you have someone like this who's really good at making runs behind you, just drop into this space. Because what you can do is, of course, you're not going to be next to the defenders. Come and drop in and get on the ball. You might be really good at passing. So something that Harry Kane does, especially in like counter-attack situations, let's move the team up. So Harry Kane loves picking the ball up. I'll show a couple clips as well. He loves picking the ball up in spaces like this and switching out to his wingers. Because what that means is that you can then come in and run into the box and be here instead of here. If you're here, the defenders can see you the whole way. If you start late, what can happen is your number 10 might make a run to the front post, taking the centre back with you. Let's bring everyone back again. And then your left winger might maybe make a run at the back post in between these guys, and then you have a bit of space. All because you've dropped in, like Harry Kane, played the ball out long, or play the ball out wide, and now you're coming in late. If when you arrive late into the box, you can see the defenders better, and you can make a run into the open space. But if you're here, it's a little bit harder. You're only fixed into this position. If you start here, then you have all this thing that you can see, and you're gonna be like, well, there's a bit of space here. I'm gonna run to the front post or the back post, and that comes with you starting sort of in the middle. So in terms of your movement, what this means for your movement is you can start away from the goal. Start away from the goal. Your main focus is to score here, but sometimes start away from the goal and create that space in this area for you to run into. Now for this next movement, we're actually going to be in the box. And this isn't something that's specific to any strikers. I think a lot of strikers just do this at the top level anyway. So it's going to be just a generic, put whatever striker you want into this situation. But let's say the ball's getting crossed in, or maybe it's on the ground here. Something that you have to understand is that the defenders will try and be as tight to you as possible. So you can try and do a fake run where you start running off this way, creating a bit of space here, and then quickly make that run into this channel. And so I'll try and find clips of this to give you a better understanding. So watch here how Haaland runs away to the left and then quickly checks back to the right into the space he's created. So we're going to watch it 2 more times and just watch how he runs towards the left just about now and then quickly comes back into the space that he created. And obviously it didn't work because he didn't score. But that's the type of movement I'm talking about. You start away from where you want to go and then you come back in and then you try and finish. But let's say that you want to score here. Something that you're going to do is run into this space, right? But that makes it easy for the defender because they're tracking you the whole time. And even though you might win the header, that you're not giving yourself the best chance to score. But what you could do is make a little dash over here or even over here, force the defender to come with you, and then make a quicker run to the space and time it offside. If time it with the offside line if you can. So we'll give a better example of that. Let's say the ball's coming out here, you're just moving, and it's never going to be this open in the pitch. I'm just making it easy for us to see. The ball's getting crossed in. And now you want to come and score in this area. You want to head that ball in that area. Forget this one. You want to score in that area, in the yellow one. So what you do is you're going to try and make a run over here. So it could be a nice and slow run over here. The defender might be getting ready to kick the ball. And then you make a little dash into this area. So you've created space. And now you're going to attack that space. And I've also done this in my midfielders video. So I gave an example of how to do this in the midfield where, let's say this player wants to receive the ball. You want to receive the ball into this space. But if you just come in, the defender's going to follow you. So what you can do is you can run away and then quickly check back into the space because you create a bit of something I like to call separation distance. If you just let the midfielder follow you, they're very tight, you're not going to have to turn. But you run away, so you start here, you run away, and you quickly come back, and that's created a bit of space. So it's the same principle over here. You want to attack at this space. So what you do is that you run away from the space and then make a quick run in there, right? And then you can try that in lots of different situations. It could be, let's say, you are counter-attacking. So this happens a lot, especially if you're a team that doesn't use the ball a lot. You might be counter-attacking. So the defenders are running here. You're running here. You're trying to run back. And let's say your number 10 has the ball, right? You could do something where you run this way, creating space, and then quickly play that running behind. Right? And Haaland is amazing at this. He runs and changes his direction a lot. So always just make that run where you fake one way and you go the other way. And finally, the last example I want to give is be switched on. Be always playing that game of what if. I think this is my favorite piece of advice that I've received or heard on TV by pundits or just by coaches I've had. You never know what's going to happen, especially in that box. So always remain switched on. If someone's taking a long shot, always think, what if the keeper drops it into that area? Because that is what movement is. Movement is knowing where you should move. And so if you have the idea of anything can happen, I have to be in this area. It could be the ball's getting crossed in, and let's say you've done that Harry Kane thing where you've dropped deep, played that ball long. You might think, oh, I played such a good pass, I'm going to stand here. No, what if? What if this guy gets slowed down by the right back and then he wants to play the ball back to me because there's so much space, I can have a long shot? That is good movement, but no one's going to say that if you don't make that run in the first place. But you have to do that by playing that game of what if. It could be, well, what if this guy gets slowed down and you see that there's defenders over here? So like, oh, what if I come back post? What if I tell this guy to run forwards and then I run into this space? That's another run we can do. say we've got two strikers now, or two players. One of you run back post, the other one run front post. What if I do that? So you always have to be playing that game of what if, and it goes back to the mistakes. Make mistakes by doing lots of what if runs. Oh, what if the goalkeeper's got the ball and I tell him to hit it long? You could say, well, what if the centre back's got the ball? And you're going to be like, well, the defense is very tight to me. I might not get the ball here, but what if I make a run this way, causing the offside line to come up? And then now I've created all of this space around here, and I tell the defender to play long ball over the top. Okay. And now the last thing I will say to you, last two things I will say to you that really, really will improve your decision making and your awareness as a striker are be aware of the space and the offside line, but always be aware of where the lines are, so you have a good idea of where the offside line is. Be aware of the types of players you have in your team. So some people might like, you can run anywhere and he'll get the ball to you. This guy might like crossing. This guy might like 1-2s or like dribbling. This left back might like switching it this way. This centre back might like it when you come in deep and then you get the ball. This other centre back might like it if you make runs over the top. You're going to have differences with everyone you play. So get to know your teammates really well. And the second thing is to always just have a hunger to want to score goals. Because if you've got a hunger to score goals, you will find ways to move. You'll always be unpredictable. Because if you're not that interested in scoring goals, you will find yourself doing a lot of stuff around the goal, around the pitch, which makes you look good. But the real thing is that you want to get as many goals as possible. So always just be creative with your runs and try something new. Try something that's unpredictable. Because that will just get your manager excited. They'll get people that watch you excited, they'll get you excited. Your teammates will be happy to play the ball to you because they're like, this guy always does something. He's always energetic. He's always on the move. And that will get you in a lot of good positions because you'll score more goals and you will impress more people. So make sure that you look at the videos I've given, like the clips of the strikers, the tips I've given, and just try and take them into your next practice as soon as possible and take them into game. Start with one. So, for example, you might look at a striker like Haaland and say Haaland loves doing this run. Try that run in your game. Obviously, it's not this run. It's just an example. It could be anything. Try that in your next game. You could like someone like Lewandowski, or even if it's Dembele. You see that Dembele loves pressing. Do that. Copy the players at the top level and just integrate some of their stuff into your training session.